Hello everyone, thank you for watching Edupedia World videos. So in this video, we are going to discuss about application server ABAP SAP Profiles. So we have come across this word profiles, SAP Profiles in our earlier videos as well. So a profile is nothing but it characterizes, it gives the specifications of the instance or the SAP system. SAP Profiles. SAP Profiles are operating system files that contain instant configuration information. SAP systems can consist of one or more instances. Individual configuration parameters can be customized to the requirements of each instance. You can use these parameters to configure the following. A SAP profile is nothing but these are operating system files which have the instance configuration. Okay, so we know that SAP system has one or more instances. Okay, so the individual configuration parameters can be customized to the requirements of each instance. So every instance can have its own configuration. You can use these parameters to configure the following: the runtime environment of the instance, like main memory size, the shared memory role size. So every instance has its own memory. Okay, so to define this memory configuration, which services the instance itself provides. Instance is nothing but it has a set of work process which do some service. Okay, so some instances have this update work process, some have spool, the central instance has the enqueue, other instances have dialog and background, but all of them need not be in the same number. So every instance has its own number of work processes. So define that, and where other services can be found, the database host. Okay, so all the relevant characteristics, all the relevant specifications of an instance is defined in this profiles. So a profile will have parameter name and the value. Okay, so that's how the profile will show. Parameter names that logically belong together have a common rule. For example, the parameters that control the dispatcher within an application server have the root rdisp/. So similar profile parameters, they have the same root. Okay, so example one profile is rdisp/ something like work process or something. Okay, so the parameters which are controlled by the dispatcher, they begin with rdisp/. Okay, the SAP profiles are stored in a special file directory. This directory can be made accessible from all hosts depending on current requirements. So profile is nothing but it's an operating system file. Okay, so these are specially stored in one directory. Okay, in Unix system, the directory is usr/sap/sed. SID is the SID of the 3 digit of the SAP system, the name. Okay, sys profile. In Windows NT systems, it is global host /sapmnt sid sys profile. Okay, where SID is the SAP system name and the SAP global host is the name of the NT machine on which the global profile directory is physically located. All host computers in an SAP system can access these profiles. More than one instance can use the same profile at the same time. Separate profiles are not required for each instance. Okay, this directory is made available to, it's a shared directory and it's made available to all the instances. Okay, this profile directory, and so on Unix AIX it is in USR SAP SID sys profile, and in Windows system it will be on the global host. Okay, SAPMNT SID sys profile, and a profile can be shared among various instances too. So in general, profiles are nothing but these are operating system files which contain the instant configuration, which contain the specifications, the configurations of a instance. Okay, so in a profile we'll have the parameter name and the value, and all these profiles are stored in a special directory. A profile directory is created. Okay, the name of the directory is also profile. Okay, and a profile can be shared across various instances. When an SAP instance is installed on a computer using the SAP installation program R3 Inst, a start and an instance profile are automatically generated. If it is the first instance of an SAP system, the system also creates a default profile. Otherwise, the existing default profile is simply updated. Now, when a fresh installation is done using the SAP installation program R3 Inst, so a start profile and an instance profile are automatically generated, start and instance. And if this is the first instance of an SAP system, one more profile known as the default profile is also created. Otherwise, the existing default profile is updated. The installation program assigns various profile settings such as buffer sizes, important data directories, and the name of the database host. So the installation program, it assigns various profile settings such as the buffer sizes, the important data directories, and the name of the database host. So while the installation program is, the installation program itself assigns various profile settings, the important ones like, the buffer sizes, okay, important data directories, and the database host names, etc. The profiles are placed in a global file directory so as to have access from every client in the system. That's what the profile is. This profile directory is shared. Parameters can be in default profiles or instance profiles. When an SAP startup process wants to read a profile parameter, it checks whether the parameter is contained in the instance profile. So first it checks the instance profile, then the default profile if the parameter cannot be found in the instance profile. If neither profile contains the parameter, the default value is taken out of the startup program coding. Now for an instance, okay, so we can define the profiles, the profile parameters in instance or default profile. So first the instance profile is checked. Okay, so if a particular parameter is not found there, then it checks in the default profile. Okay, so first the order is instance here, then the default. Okay, if it's not found in instance or default, then the default value which SAP defines is taken. Okay, so here if we see the R3 installation program for an SAP instance R3 Inst. Okay, so first it creates the start and the instance profile. Okay, then for the first instance it will create a default profile. For the other instances it will update the existing default profile. Okay, and this directory is shared. That is very important. Okay, during installation 3 profiles are created in the file system: default profile, default.plf, start.instance, and sid.instance. So 3 profiles, namely the default profile, the start profile, and the instance profile are created. These profiles contain the parameters that determine the operating system resource usage of the instance. For example, the number of the work process, the buffer sizes, etc. You import and activate these profiles using the profile maintenance tool. After that, you should simply maintain and activate the profiles using the profile maintenance. So now, during installation, 3 profiles are created: the default profile, the start profile, and the instance profile. Okay, so the default profile is named as default.pfl. The start profile is named as start underscore the instance name. Okay, and the instance profile is named as the SID, that is the SAP system SID underscore the instance name and number. Now we import and activate these profiles using the profile maintenance tool. So RZ10 is the profile maintenance tool. Okay, that is the transaction code for importing the profiles from the operating system level into the SAP, okay, and maintaining them. So once after the fresh installation, these profiles are imported into the SAP, you have to maintain them. SAP suggests you to maintain these profiles only from the SAP level only, that is using transaction RC10, RZ10. Start profiles. When you start an SAP instance on a host, the start profile defines which SAP services are started. Message server, dialog, the gateway, or enqueue process, for example. The Start SAP program is responsible for starting these service processes, and it uses a start profile to begin the startup process. Okay, so when you start an SAP instance on a host, the start profile defines like which SAP services are to be started. Service is nothing but the different work process plus the message server, the gateway. Okay, so we have a start SAP program. Okay, this program starts these services, and this start SAP program, it uses the start profile. It finds out like what services I have to start. From the start profile, it will come to know which services are to be activated for that instance. The process that can be started include the application server, okay, message server, the gateway, the system log send on, system log received on. To start the same SAP services on several hosts, you can use a single start profile. Each SAP instance does not have to have its own start profile. Okay. Now, for starting up or shutting down, okay, especially for starting up the instance, the start SAP program for that instance, okay, uses the start profile of that instance. Okay, so that will determine like what services it has to start. And it is not necessary that every instance should have its own start profile. Okay, the start profile can be shared across several instances. Now, the next one is the default profile. If you want to assign the same parameter value for all application servers, such as the name of the database host or the host on which the message server is running, enter it in the default profile. In general, you can list any parameter you like here. So if you want a common value for all the application servers, okay, like the database, related parameters, message server, okay, so those you can enter in this default profile. You cannot choose a name for the default profile. It is always called default.pfl. So there is no name for the default profile. By default, it is called as default.pfl. The default profile, like all other profiles, is located in the global profile directory of the SAP system. For example, under Unix, it is USR SAP SID profile. Okay, and for Windows, we have seen the path. There is always only one active default profile. Default profiles are also called as system profiles. Now, this default profile, only one default profile can be active per SAP system. You cannot have more than one default profile active. Okay, and this is also located in the shared directory, in the profile directory. And this default profiles are also known as system profiles. So default profile is nothing but it maintains the parameters which are common to all the instances, like the name of the database host, okay, then the name of the update server, the enqueue server, the name of the server for handling the background processing events, okay, the name of the computer on which the message server is running, the name of the TCP server under which the message server can be reached, name of the computer on which the gateway is running, name of the TCP service under which the gateway is running. So these are common across all the instances. Okay, so default profile maintains all the parameters which are common across all the instances, and we have only one active default profile per SAP system. These default profiles are also known as system profiles. Now, the last one is instance profiles. Instance profiles provide an application server with additional configuration parameters that complement the settings in the default profile. Typically, these are parameter settings that are adapted to the instance according to the required resources and applications. They also define the available instance resources, that is main memory, shared memory, role memory, etc., and how to allocate memory to the SAP application buffers. You can choose any name for an instance profile. The SAP naming convention has the following structure: SID instance name or SID instance name underscore SID instance underscore instance name underscore host name. So instance profile means it characterizes the individual. So you have some parameters in the default profile which is common across all the instances. Now some more additional parameters which are specific only to that instance are defined in this instance profile, especially like the memory parameters, which because every application server has its own memory. So those parameters are defined in this instance profile. Okay, so and SAP gives, you can keep your own name for the instance profile, but SAP generally it uses this format: the SID, the instance name, and the host name. Okay, so we have discussed three profiles, all the three profiles: the default profile, the start profile, and the instance profile. Now maintaining profiles. In non-production systems, you can make changes to the system profiles as often as you like. But in a production system, it is only rarely necessary to make the changes to the system profile. In both cases, you should carry out your maintenance tasks using the CCMS profile maintenance. So the profile maintenance tool is transaction RZ10. Okay, and it has the following advantages: its convenience of use, extensive profile checks, testing of individual profiles for consistency, no inconvenient profile editing at operating system level, changes to profiles are lost, profile data is held in the SAP database for security and consistency, and provision of basic data for operation mode switching. Now profiles are nothing but these are the files at operating system level, so you can edit them from the operating system, but SAP strictly says that please edit and maintain the files, these profiles, from SAP level using the profile maintenance tool, that is RZ10. So this transaction is the transaction where you can view the profiles, you can edit them. Okay, you can activate them, deactivate them, you can delete them, whatever operation you want to do, it is always suggested to do from RZ10 because it's convenient. Okay, and here we have an option to check the consistency of the profile. Okay, and then at operation level sometimes it will be difficult. You have to open the file in VI editor, depending upon the flavor of your operating system, or in a notepad in Windows. You should be careful, but here it is easy to edit them, and here the changes to profiles are launched. So here if somebody has edited some profile, so it will show you like last it was changed by whom, and if you do any operation on this profile, further it will be tracked in the system log also, SM21. So that is an advantage. And the profile data is held in the SAP database also. Okay, and for operation mode switching, okay, because to switch the operation mode it should know like the information in the instance profile, right? How many the type of services, the work process which an instance has. So it is convenient also. So that's why you have to use the profile maintenance tool RZ10 to maintain the profiles at SAP level rather than directly going and editing them at the operating system level. Import profiles. Since you are working with profile data from the SAP database in the profile maintenance, you need to ensure that this data matches the corresponding active profiles in the file systems of the instances. You do this by importing the profiles. To import the profiles for all active servers, choose in RZ10, you go to utilities, import profiles of active servers. You should always import the profiles in the following situation: before you first use the profile maintenance, after installing a new application server, or after changing a profile at the operating system level. see a profile now with RZ10, the profile is there at the SAP level, also in the operating system level. So if you make any changes at the operating system level, you have to import the profiles. Further, when after a fresh installation, then also we need to import the profiles. And before you first use the profile for the first time, when you use RZ10 also, then also you have to import the profiles to check whether the profile in the database matches the active profile in the file system. You can compare these profiles at any time. To do this, select the desired profile in the profile maintenance and you go to profile, compare profile in the database against active profile. So that's what. If you open RZ transaction, there you will have all these options. Okay, you can do a consistency check, you can compare the profile in the SAP with that of the operating system. Okay, all these things you can do. And because we have the profiles at operating system level and SAP level, so in these three conditions, if you change any profile directly at the operating system level, you have to import it into SAP. Further, after when a new application server is installed, then also you have to import the profiles. And before you first use the profile for the first time, okay, when we use RZ10, then also you should import the profile parameters from the OS level into SAP. Okay, so this is a brief overview about profiles. Okay, so we have n number of profiles in SAP. Okay, we have so many profile parameters. So this video doesn't go into much details. Okay, so it just gives an overview about what is SAP profile. Okay, so we have started with what is an SAP profile. So it is nothing but it's a file, operating system file, okay, that contains the instant configuration data. Then we have seen what a profile looks like. It has a parameter name and a value. Okay, and then all the profiles are stored in a common directory at the operating system level, that is USR SAP SID sys profile in Unix, or SAP global host SAP MNT SID sys profile in Microsoft Windows NT. Okay, so depending upon your flavor of your operating system, the profiles are stored in a common shared directory, and this shared directory is made accessible to all the instances. Then next, we have learned that first, for any parameter, okay, it first checks in the instance profile, then it checks in the default profile. If both these profiles does not have the parameter, then the default value which SAP has defined, that value is used. And when we install an SAP system using the SAP installation program R3INST, an instance in the start profile are created. Okay, and if it is the first instance, then the default profile is created. Okay, from the second instance onwards, the default profile is updated. Next, we have seen that three different types of profiles. The default profile, which is named as default.pfl, the start profile, which is named as start underscore the instance name, and the third one is the instance profile, which is named as SID underscore instance. So these profiles contain the parameters that determine the operating system resource usage of the instance. For example, the number of work process, buffer sizes, etc. So the basic aim of the profiles is to define all the characteristics of the SAP system and the instance. Then we have learned about start profile. Okay, so the start profile, it gives all the details for the startup, the SAP startup program. The SAP startup program is used to start an instance. So this program uses the information in the start profile. Okay, it will come to know like the application server name, the message server information, the gateway, all this, like how many, all this information required for the startup. Okay, and every instance need not have its own start profile. A start profile can be shared across various instances. Then next we have seen the default profile, which is named as default.pfl. Okay, so this is the standard name. Okay, and we cannot change it. So the default profile, it contains all the values which are common across the application servers. Okay, like the database, host, the update server information, the enqueue server information, all these things. So there are certain parameters which are common across all the instances. So that information is maintained in this default profile, and the default profile is also known as the system profile, and per SAP system we have only one default profile which is active. The last one we have seen is the instance profile. So in addition to the parameter values in default profile, every instance can have its own instance profile. Okay, so here the individual characteristics which are specific to that instance are stored in this instance profile, and the general naming convention of an instance profile is SID, instance name, and host name. Okay, next we have seen the three types of profiles. The last part we have learned about the profile maintenance tool RSET 10. So the profiles exist at the operating system level. So SAP says like, you maintain, okay, whatever you want to do, you want to edit or you want to update, you want to delete a profile, it says like, please do it from the SAP level using the transaction RSET 10, because it has the following advantages. So these are the advantages by using RSET 10. And in the last part we have seen about importing the profiles. Okay, now the profiles are to be imported from the operating system level into the SAP database also. Okay, so in three cases, like if you change a profile at the operating system level, or after installing a new application server, or before you first use the profile maintenance, you have to import the profiles. So, and even RSET 10, through RSET 10 we can do various operations like comparing the values in the SAP database and that of operating system level. You can do a consistency check. Okay, all these things you can do from RSET 10. So RSET 10 is the central T code for maintaining the profiles, and we must be very careful and cautious. Some profiles, they come in effect immediately. If you change a value, they are dynamic. Okay, but some profile parameters are not dynamic, they will need a system restart. So even though if you change the profile parameter value in RSET 10 or operating system level, it will come into effect only after the next restart of the SAP system. So that we should keep in mind. Generally most of the profile parameters, they are not dynamic, they would require a system restart. And if you change it in SAP level and if you save and activate it, the profile will be automatically stored at the operating system level. However, if you change the profile parameter value at the operating system level, then you have to import that profile again from operating system level to SAP level. Okay, so that's why SAP says like, please change the profiles edit them in SAP level only. If you change it at operating system level and if you don't import your profiles, then you'll think like, I have changed this parameter but I'm not able to see the effect of it. Okay, so you have to again import it into the SAP level, have to save and activate that profile. So that's why like whatever changes we want to do, it is in good practice to change them from RSET 10 T code only. So in RSET 10 T code, you can view all these default, start and instance profiles. You can view them, you can edit them. Okay, and please generally don't you just display and see, but without substantial information. Don't delete or edit profiles now and then. Okay, so that everybody should know. Display is okay, but we shouldn't change and especially if you delete a profile, then it's very dangerous. We should be very careful with that. Okay, so this video is prepared to give only a brief idea about SAP profiles. Okay, the different types of profiles and the transaction RZ10. So that is where it's the T code in SAP to maintain all the profiles of the SAP system. Thank you.